Good morning, Yelm High School students. We're excited to host the Professionals by Pathway Career Exploration event to help you connect your learning to career opportunities. What comes after high school? What's down the road, right? So I am Paula Petersen, Mrs. P, and I'm excited to welcome my former student, Mario Cava, who is an attorney, and he's going to explain all about that and his career pathway once we get started today. I just want to remind you, though, that this session is about 30 minutes and it's being recorded so that you can come back and listen to hear again a part that you missed or didn't get quite clear enough. You can do that. And you also have the option to ask questions. If you look at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A button. Feel free to put your questions there, and I'll make sure that Mr. Cava gets your questions so we can get you all the information you're curious about what it's like to be an attorney. So welcome, Mr. Cava.
Well, thanks for having me. And this is really just a delight for me to be able to connect with you, Paula, and also to be here for your students. I think some people go to high school, they leave high school and they think that they're done. And the reality is that everyone you encounter over the course of your life has an impact on not just the decisions you make, but also the choices you make about your career, but also how you show up every day in life. And there's a meaningful connection that you can have with mentors throughout your entire life that can really help you and guide you even when there aren't other mentors present. So that's just one of the messages that I have, is that it's just a delight to come back and connect with you and to be here for you and your students.
Thank you. So tell us about how you got to where you are now in your career. What was that pathway like from high school? What were your next steps? How did you end up here?
Well, I actually really enjoyed being in your rhetoric class and being a student in speech and debate. Obviously enjoyed debating and public speaking. And I thought to myself, well, if I can make money at this, if someone will pay me to do something that I'm enjoying and that I find fulfilling, then I should really give some thought to whether I want to go into the law. It wasn't a direct path, actually. When I left high school and went to college, I looked at a bunch of different things and took courses in took broad-based courses in everything from calculus and math and science to the liberal arts and English. And actually, I majored in psychology in high school and had given some thought into whether I wanted to go into neuropsychology for a period of time. So I toyed around with that, decided I really did enjoy speech and debate, and continued debating through high school. I was a policy debater, did cross-examination debate association CETA debate for Whitman College, and then also did some parliamentary debate and competed at the nationals for both Parley and for CETA. And really enjoyed doing it, and thought, I could keep this going, and applied to law school. Ended up going. I did a year at Willamette University. I thought that it would be a great experience, similar to Whitman College, in a small liberal arts setting, and realized after 5 years I really needed to be in an urban setting, and moved to Washington, D.C., and spent a couple of years at American University Washington College of Law on Massachusetts Avenue, and enjoyed being in a city where the law was everywhere, and 1 in 7 people on the metro was an attorney, and got to practice for a little bit. I was a law clerk for the United States International Trade Commission for a period of time, and also did some work for the War Crimes Research Office at the Center for Human Rights and Humanitarian Law, writing judgment summaries for the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia and also Rwanda on serious crimes against humanity that were being committed. And when I got out of law school, I actually returned to Washington State, which is home. I think actually in your class, you had said there's no place more beautiful than the Northwest. And I actually learned that. I've been to many places, and I just wanted to come home. And also my spouse is here. So I returned to Washington to take the bar, because once you take the bar, you're in. and practiced for a period of time as a public defender. And then started working for Liberty Mutual Insurance doing in-house counsel work. And now I'm in the corporate legal department and I'm home office corporate counsel. So it's been quite the journey and I've seen a little bit of everything.
Yeah, so many different, I don't know if students realize how many different kinds of law there are to practice and go into. There's just so many different facets of it that you can spend your whole life in. And you sounds like you were like four different avenues of law that you
Multiple
dipped into and tried. Yeah.
multiple areas of law. And in fact, there are probably more areas of law than we can talk about in this short discussion. And in my current role, I actually manage our outside panel counsel that's retained by the company to represent either the company or to represent our policyholders in litigation of all types, everything ranging from, intellectual property to corporate litigation and commercial claims to even auto accident cases that, someone gets into a car accident, they get sued, their insurance company will hire an attorney to represent them in court. And so we work with those outside attorneys to represent our policyholders and manage the litigation. So there's quite a bit of areas. I've seen many of them, and in my current role, I'm actually supposed to be a generalist. So I get to learn a little bit about all of it.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things I probably should touch on is that for many people, there's this view of the law as being very linear, in that you should progress through high school, college, law school with a focus on language abilities and public speaking and avoiding subjects that are more analytical like math and science. And I'm here to tell you, you got to know the math and science in order to be successful in the law. So I would encourage all of your students, if they're interested in practicing law, to become skilled in areas that are perhaps not intuitive if you're thinking of going into legal practice.
I don't know if they realize there's not a bachelor's degree in law. That you get your bachelor's degree in another field, and the law comes after. It comes after your degree. Like you said, you were in psychology for a while. We do have a question, and we have a student who jumped in and wanted to know, what is the hardest part about the journey?
The hardest part about the journey is knowing who you are. You need to know who you are and spend some time thinking about what you care about and what's going to be fulfilling. And think about the social issues you care about, the people you care about, what in your day is going to bring you joy. And if you have a passion for the law, and that's something that is really speaking to you now, think about the commitment that is needed to be successful in the practice of law and really know who you are. You will find that you will be challenged in many different directions, from opposing counsel, from clients, from judges, to employers and other people, colleagues. They will challenge your beliefs. And knowing who you are will really help you navigate those ambiguous situations that might bring a little bit of discomfort. And that's okay.
Yeah, that's how we grow. That's how we grow. Well, our students may have really only encountered the law in, like, say, family law situations and that kind of stuff. Or like me, they watch a lot of TV with attorneys doing cool, fancy things. But there's a whole lot more to it than that. So I guess one of my questions would be, why not family law? Why corporate law? Why is that a better fit for you? You must have made that choice at some point. And I just wonder, how'd you make that choice?
I love being a trial lawyer. I was a trial attorney. Like I said, I did public defense and did a lot of human rights related practice areas, and did some international work. And what I found was that I did care a lot. And you end up, the more you care, the more you're going to take this work home with you. And there were so many times, especially as a public defender, where I found myself in situations where I was emotionally invested in the work. And that is a good thing. It makes you passionate about what you do. It gives you a purpose when you get up in the morning. It is something that can be really fulfilling to a person pursuing a career in the law. It can also cause burnout. So I needed to think about other aspects of the work that I loved and find ways to continue enjoying things like the doctrine and the jurisprudence. And also, I'm a manager, so I manage other people and how I help mentor others and coach people and contribute through community activities that I realized as it was in the middle of a trial. It was a Class A felony trial where I realized that, I am really not spending any time putting myself on the list and needed to rethink my career path and quality of life. And so after about 4 years, when a position came available with my current company, I decided, well, this is like the mothership is calling me home. It was just perfect timing. I was in the middle of a very, very challenging trial, a very difficult counseling situation involving working with parents of a juvenile and involving very difficult issues and social workers and working with probation officers and a whole web of services, social services being provided to my client. It was just so challenging. And I think that I realized at that moment that, I'm really not in this for life. I needed to find something else that was fulfilling and actually litigated doing civil litigation. And what I found was that civil litigation was in many ways less civil than in the criminal context. In the criminal context, everyone knows that it's about constitutional rights. You're there to protect the interests of your client, and they have a right to counsel, and there's free flowing information. In the civil context, attorneys can get pretty challenging. You can deal with very difficult attorneys that are going to be very aggressive in their litigation tactics and strategies, and it can be frustrating in some ways. And so after a bit of time doing that, I decided to do more transactional work, which led to where I am now, which is wonderful.
So I misspoke. You did you were in that hard part, that so human, so heart-wrenching part of the law. I hear that. Yeah, I hear that. I know at least one of our students listening is interested in that kind of work, and it is draining. That's something for students to consider, that I keep saying to them, it's you have to balance your life, and you do what you love, but you have, it shouldn't all be about your work. And you're saying that same thing. I know one of their questions, or one avenue we should probably at least discuss for a moment, is money, because all attorneys are super rich, right? And or I mean, there are two extremes of thinking about this. They're either so incredibly in debt because it's so expensive to become an attorney, and then I find other people think, oh yeah, all attorneys are wealthy. I'm sure there's a lot of give and take in the midst of that. So are you comfortable talking a little bit about the financial aspect?
Sure. I'll talk a little bit about the finances involved. I think what I would encourage people to do is start with that first question of what do they love, because it really is an investment in your time and in your life and financially. And to think about what, if you're going to wake up every day and love what you do, and this is what you're passionate about and what you care about, then consider it an investment and weigh the pros and the cons. There might be a financial impact to pursuing a career in the law. And also, don't let the finances dictate the activities that you want to pursue in the law, whether it's doing social work, being a public defender, doing family law. Many people don't pursue the law because they don't feel that that the financial investment is worth the time when they're pursuing a career that may, at least in the public's eyes, seem less lucrative if they're pursuing more of the public interest areas of the law. What I found is that if you love what you do, you will advance within your career quickly and you will find success. And all of a sudden, the financial investment, it pays for itself, because you're getting a return on your investment in quality of life, having a career that you love, and there are ways to make it work. And there are many federal programs that can also help offset some of the daunting financial aspects of pursuing a career in the law. It's really a cost benefit analysis and trying to determine, is this investment worth what I'm going to get out of it? I also want to say that many people I know who pursued careers in criminal law or family law have set up their own practices, or they've advanced in their careers pretty quickly and have found that they've quickly paid off the debt that they've incurred to get their degrees. So there's many ways to do it, and as people do advance, they actually find that they're in jobs with competitive pay that are competitive with the private sector positions that are out there. Really, what's important though is become exceptional at what you do, love what you do, and the rest will follow. I mean, that's just sort of the big picture. And also I want to add, when thinking about the colleges to pursue, think about the long game. Do you want to invest heavily in an undergraduate education if you know you're going to put on another 3 years in graduate education? And would it make sense to be sensible in terms of the investment for the undergraduate education, do really well, perform at a high level, and then pursue admission to a strong graduate program, and sort of be smart about the investments you make along the way, because it's not all about where you go or where your degree is from. In fact, I interview candidates regularly for positions at my company, and it rarely comes down to what institutions they went to.
And my guess is it rarely comes down to their GPA too. Is that right?
Nobody's asked me about my GPA, which I'm a little bit bummed because I worked so hard for it.
I know, right? So I always counsel my students to, at least for the first 2 years of college, it's going to be the same no matter where you go. So do that community college option that saves you all that money, or at least a state school where you have in-state tuition, where it's a little bit cheaper. Do those things that save you. I'm just echoing what you just said. I think save the big money, the big ticket for after your bachelor's. Get the bachelor's. If you're going to pursue law, you got to do more than a bachelor's anyway. So why not? Why not go the not? I don't want to use the word cheaper. The most inexpensive route, most sensible route. In fact, our next question is from a student: what is a good class or classes to take in college to jumpstart the journey? And I would ask you to even back that up, because we'll have students 9 through 12 grade listening to this. And so if they really are thinking, I want to be an attorney, what are some things they can do in high school? And then as they're starting college, what are classes possible, skills to focus on?
I think it's really important to have a strong foundation in the language arts and social studies and the humanities. So it's really important to have a strong foundation in language and the use of words and how to present and do public speaking. Those are really strong attributes that will follow you and are transferable, even if you ultimately decide not to go into the law. I also would encourage people, as I mentioned earlier, to think about their lifetime learning. I'm still going to class. I still have things that I'm doing to advance my own development. I will continue to forever. It's just who I am. So having a growth mindset and thinking about ways to continuously learn throughout your life. So reading books and being well read will serve you well. I would encourage people to pursue what their heart leads them to. So things like music, becoming a great pianist, or being involved in the band or the choir, having extracurriculars, developing good, healthy habits. So being involved in activities, get you out and get you some exercise. I would also encourage people to not disregard math and science. And this is just one of those things, because in my current role, I will tell you that the law is changing and we're doing a lot in the space of enhanced analytics. We're spending a lot of time with data, and the world is changing. We're having a virtual conversation here.
Right.
So everything is changing in what the expectations are to be able to practice in a fully remote environment. And don't disregard the importance of a strong math and science foundation. It's one of those things that I think a lot of people go to law school thinking, well, I'm going to law school so I don't have to do math. Well, you've got to understand that there are analytical skills that are needed to be successful in the law, which is largely based on evidence and being able to support what you're doing. So
Right.
yeah, I would encourage a broad-based foundational understanding in both high school and college, and pursuing additional skills that
What about
will be used.
what about work ethic? You want to say anything about work ethic and I don't know, the time spent? I mean, like how much time I know a lot of people want to have a 9 to 5 job and free weekends and limit and their life is all about not being at work all the time, being with their family. What are we looking at in terms of time in this career?
Well, time, I would say you can have a 9 to 5 career in the practice of law. That's another thing that I think people misunderstand, is that you get out of it what you put in. So you can, depending on the role that you pursue, you can have a 9 to 5 career and be able to have work-life balance and a good quality of life. It depends on how people set their priorities. Time is one of our most valuable resources. And I think that you can do it. If you're doing it in a way in which you're doing something you love, you will find that you invest more time than you would, ordinarily invest in work-related activities. I find myself doing work and thinking about work outside of regular business hours. It's usually because it's something on my mind. It's something I care about. It's something that I want to make sure I get right. And as with anything, you'll have anxiety around work and oh, did I forget to do this? And you have to-do lists. But if you manage your time effectively, you can actually have a regular work day. It also depends on which areas. Like I said, I cared a lot about being a public defender. I spent a lot of time working late hours on the eve of trial to think about my clients and what needs to happen. So, and there are some times there's a cyclical nature to the work if you're litigating. I'm not litigating, but when I was litigating, if you're getting closer to trial as you approach a significant event, you're going to invest more time to prepare for those events. So there will be more time, and you just have to know that as trial is approaching, you're going to spend more time with the work, and you'll also find that you enjoy that work. So I can't impress enough that time flies when you're having fun, because I often would spend more time. There were times where I would put in a 12-hour day, and I would be very tired and exhausted, or a 14-hour day if I was really close to trial. I also really enjoyed it. There were things about it that, gave me energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when you were in high school and doing mock trial. And even the night before a mock trial was not, maybe not an all-nighter for those high school students, for you guys, but it was a last minute, got to make it perfect kind of thing. I want to circle back around to that work ethic question because I would like your backup on something that I keep saying to my students, and I bet I can get it. I have a lot of my AP students tend to be people who are very concerned with GPA and grade, and I have, especially in virtual learning, quite a few students who they just want to get the credit and get out of here. It's just about that grade. It's just about getting out of here. And I try to communicate to them, Mario, that it's about what you learn. It is not, your grade is never going to matter anywhere else. It's never going to be something that you use as a commodity to get something. It's no one's ever going to ask you about it. Like you said earlier, no one's ever asked you about your GPA, which is a bummer because you had a great one. But those skills, it's about what you can do, what you know how to do. That's really what I'm hoping high school students can make that shift. My students especially can make that shift. It's about what you can do and what you can understand and what you can write. Does the numbers and the grades really don't go anywhere else except just to get you out the door.
Right. If people really care about the grades, they will follow if your focus is on learning. If you care about the right stuff and you're focused on the learning and have a growth mindset, again, I can't impress enough the importance of a growth mindset and to develop intellectual curiosity at a young age and to think about, I need to be learning things.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to really understand this particular concept unless I invest the time and think about how am I, is the goal to get the right answer? Is the goal to be engaged in critical thinking? Is the goal to follow the right process steps or to get into the right workflow? So all of those things contribute to not just your understanding, also success. There is the importance of work ethic. The work, though, is not about I'm working to get the straight A's. The work is about I want to be exceptional at this task. I want to be exceptional at understanding this area. And if you find that you are exceptional in that area, the grades will follow. It's a natural consequence to being invested in your understanding and be intellectually curious. If you encounter a situation that's novel, you haven't studied this material before, think about the excitement that comes from learning something new. So yes, all of those things. And in fact, every day when you meet with clients as an attorney, they will come to you with new information. And you will have to adapt what you're doing based upon the information that's provided. And it's not a one size fits all scenario. So you're going to have many tools in the toolbox to address their concerns. So if you come at it with only one tool to address a multidisciplinary situation, you're probably not well equipped to handle that situation. So I want to encourage people to think about learning as much as they can and put more tools in the tool chest.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that flexibility of the mind, flexibility in your thinking ability. Yeah, got it. Okay. So what's next for you? I mean, as you look down the road, this is how you got to where you are now, but what is your future? I mean, what options do you have moving forward? Where else could you go in the law, or what do you think is in the future for you?
Well, right now I'm navigating a company through change. So I'm really excited and a little bit terrified about trying to provide legal counsel to a company that is also continuously improving and innovating in a world that is changing dramatically every single day. So I set goals for myself just in terms of building my team, managing my current team, and being a mentor to them and helping to develop talent within our organization. That's of course something very front of my mind, and also working with our law firms to make sure that they're virtually ready to engage in virtual trials and prepare them. So currently in the short term, my focus is really on helping to navigate these uncertain waters, given our current circumstances with the pandemic. Going forward, though, I've never put any limitations on myself. I am pursuing a master's in business, so
Ah,
I'm working on my MBA, and that's another thing I should mention about the financial piece. My company does tuition reimbursement.
oh,
Um,
nice.
so if you're pursuing development activities to further grow your skills, again, that's that lifetime learning piece that if you have a growth mindset and and you're being honest about the skills you need to be successful in business, going back and pursuing a second advanced degree is something that I've been doing, and it's being funded by my company. So currently I'm growing my skills in business, and I don't know what the future holds. I have been thinking a lot about, how I am where I am today and really thinking about leadership and where leadership can take you. I've thought about all the different areas where lawyers have advanced their careers, whether it be government, whether it be the bench, whether it be teaching, being a professor. So I've thought about all of these different areas. I've thought about what would be satisfying for me as a career. And I currently love what I do. So my real focus is, well, if you love what you do, I'm not banging on the door to leave.
That's right.
To keep doing that and to see where the world takes me, and not put any limitations on opportunities when they do come available.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so one of the things I hope students are hearing is this is not a boring career. This is not a you get there and you do the same thing every day for the rest of your life. There are just almost unlimited options for advancement and change, and there's all sorts of movement available for your entire life inside this one career. So it's awesome. And I see Ms. Mathis coming back on. That means we're we're at our last few moments here. So final thoughts, Mr. Cava, final thoughts for our students?
I would I want to end where I started, which is love what you do. You've got one life. Find something you love and do that. And if someone will pay you for it, all the better.
Yeah,
But it's really about knowing who you are, loving what you do, and the rest will follow. So that's the last piece of wisdom I can offer.
it's good
Fi-
stuff.